As people get older, it's natural to lean on familiar routines, hobbies, and habits. Familiarity feels comfortable, it's safe, predictable, and requires less mental energy. But when this comfort zone becomes a permanent residence, older individuals can unintentionally close themselves off from growth, new experiences, and meaningful connections. Avoiding learning or trying new things may seem harmless, yet over time, it can contribute to isolation, boredom, and even cognitive decline. One reason seniors often resist new activities is fear of failure, embarrassment, or not being able to keep up with younger people. For instance, learning how to use a smartphone, navigating online banking, or picking up a new hobby like painting or gardening may feel intimidating at first. Some older adults may even tell themselves, "I'm too old for this," believing that new skills are only for the young. This mindset not only limits opportunities but also subtly reinforces the belief that life's most exciting experiences are behind them. In reality, engaging with new ideas and activities is one of the most powerful ways to keep the mind sharp and the spirit energized. Research consistently shows that learning new skills, whether it's a language, a craft, a sport, or a technologist, stimulates the brain, strengthens memory, and improves mental agility. Even small challenges, like trying a different walking route or cooking a new recipe, help keep the mind flexible. Socially, openness to new experiences can be a bridge between generations. For example, a grandparent who learns to use video calls or social media can stay more connected with younger family members. Trying a trendy cafe, attending a community workshop, or joining a local club creates opportunities to meet new people and engage in fresh conversations. In contrast, those who refuse to adapt may unintentionally limit their social circles and miss out on shared activities. Avoiding new things can also subtly affect how others perceive an older person. Friends and family may see them as set in their ways or unwilling to engage with the present. While they may still love and respect them, they might be less likely to invite them to events or activities that involve change or novelty, leading to a gradual decline in social invitations. Breaking this habit doesn't mean jumping into every trend or forcing uncomfortable changes. It's about staying curious and open-minded. Simple steps can make a big difference. Reading about a new topic, attending a local class, learning to use a new kitchen gadget, or exploring a different genre of music or books. The goal is not perfection, but participation. The reward for this openness is twofold. It keeps life exciting and preserves a sense of relevance in a fast-changing world. Seniors who embrace learning and exploration tend to radiate energy, attract positive social connections, and inspire others with their adaptability. Far from being too old, they prove that growth and discovery are possible and deeply rewarding at any age. As people age, they accumulate decades of life experience, wisdom, and personal standards for how things should be done. While this can be a source of valuable guidance for younger generations, it can also lead to a habit of criticizing or nitpicking, pointing out small mistakes, flaws, or imperfections in others' words, actions, or appearances. What may feel like helpful advice to the older person can come across as overly judgmental or even hurtful to those on the receiving end. Often, this habit develops unconsciously. A senior might comment on someone's clothing choice, question how they perform a task, or correct minor details in conversation, not with the intent to insult, but simply because it doesn't match their way of doing things. For example, a grandmother might say, "That's not how you fold laundry," or a grandfather might remark, "Back in my day, we would never." While these comments may seem harmless or even caring, repeated over time they can make others feel criticized, inadequate, or overly scrutinized. There are several reasons why nitpicking becomes more common with age. For some, it's about maintaining control in a world that feels increasingly unpredictable. For others, it's rooted in pride over their tried and true methods. And in certain cases, physical discomfort, stress, or declining patience can make small irritations feel bigger than they are, prompting more vocal reactions. Unfortunately, frequent criticism has a damaging effect on relationships. It can make children, grandchildren, friends, or even spouses hesitant to share parts of their lives for fear of judgment. Younger family members might avoid asking for help or advice, assuming it will be accompanied by disapproval. Over time, this can lead to emotional distance, with fewer deep conversations and less quality time together. Breaking the cycle of constant criticism starts with self-awareness. Older individuals can benefit from pausing before speaking and asking themselves, is this comment truly necessary? Will it help or hurt the other person? In many cases, small imperfections or differences in approach don't actually matter in the long run. Letting them go can reduce tension and make relationships more pleasant. Another helpful strategy is shifting focus from pointing out flaws to offering encouragement. Instead of saying, "You're doing it wrong," try, "That's an interesting way of doing it," or "I like how you approached that." By framing feedback more positively, it's possible to share knowledge without making others feel criticized. It's also important to remember that perfection is not the goal, connection is. Relationships thrive when people feel safe, respected, and appreciated, even when their choices differ from our own. Older individuals who replace nitpicking with kindness and understanding often notice that others become more receptive to their advice and more eager to spend time with them. In the end, everyone wants to be around people who make them feel good about themselves. By letting go of the urge to criticize and embracing a more accepting mindset, seniors can strengthen bonds, create warmer interactions, and ensure that their company is always welcomed with a smile. One of the more subtle but relationship habits that can develop with age is the tendency to believe you are always right. This behavior often stems from a lifetime of accumulated knowledge, skills, and personal experiences. After decades of solving problems, overcoming challenges, and navigating life's twists and turns, many older individuals develop a strong sense of certainty about their views and decisions. While confidence can be an admirable quality, when it crosses into inflexibility, it can make conversations frustrating and relationships tense. That the belief of "I know better" is not usually born from arrogance. More often, it comes from a genuine conviction that one's life experience offers the most reliable answers. If you've done something successfully for 40 years, it's natural to feel that your method is the best and to be skeptical of alternatives. However, times change, technology evolves, and circumstances shift. What worked perfectly decades ago might no longer be the most effective or appropriate solution today. The problem arises when someone refuses to acknowledge that they could be mistaken, or when they shut down differing opinions without genuine consideration. In discussions, this can look like interrupting with corrections, dismissing suggestions outright, or subtly steering the conversation until it aligns with their own viewpoint. Over time, this creates an environment where others feel they can't speak freely or contribute new ideas without facing immediate disagreement. For younger generations, this behavior can be particularly discouraging. They may stop seeking advice, avoid sharing their perspectives, or withdraw from meaningful discussions altogether. The older person may interpret this withdrawal as disinterest or disrespect, without realizing that their own unwillingness to consider other viewpoints has pushed people away. It's important to remember that being right is not always as valuable as maintaining a healthy relationship. In many situations, the right answer can vary depending on personal preferences, current trends, or individual needs. Sometimes, letting someone try their why, even if it might not be more beneficial for trust and connection than insisting on one's own method. To address this habit, practicing humility is key. Phrases like "I might be wrong," "That's an interesting point," or "I hadn't thought of it that way" can open the door to richer, more collaborative conversations. Listening fully before responding and genuinely considering what others say helps create a balance between sharing wisdom and remaining open to learning. It can also be eye-opening to deliberately put oneself in the role of a learner. Trying new hobbies, exploring unfamiliar technology, or engaging with younger people about their perspectives can remind older individuals that valuable knowledge exists outside their own experience. In the end, being respected is often more rewarding than being right all the time. Older individuals who remain open-minded and willing to adapt demonstrate not only wisdom but also emotional maturity. They show that true intelligence is not about never being wrong, it's about continually being willing to grow, no matter one's age. As people age, their pace of life often changes. Without the demands of a full-time job or raising children, schedules can become more relaxed, and there's often less urgency in daily routines. While this slower pace can be a healthy adjustment, it can also lead to habits that unintentionally disregard others' time and emotions. Arriving late to plans, canceling at the last minute, expecting immediate attention, or making decisions without considering how As people grow older, life experiences naturally shape their outlook. Some seniors develop remarkable wisdom, patience, and gratitude, while others often, unintentionally, fall into patterns of negativity and frequent complaining. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It often begins subtly, a small frustration here, a passing criticism there. But over time, it can turn into a habit of focusing primarily on what's wrong rather than what's right, creating a cloud of pessimism around them. Negativity can take many forms. It might be verbal, constantly pointing out flaws in people, events, or circumstances. It can be nonverbal facial expressions, sighs, and dismissive gestures that signal dissatisfaction. Sometimes it's cloaked in humor or just being honest, but it still communicates the same energy, a lack of contentment. There are understandable reasons why older individuals might develop this tendency. Aging often brings challenges, aches and pains, reduced mobility, health concerns, financial constraints, and sometimes loneliness or loss. It's normal to acknowledge these difficulties, but when complaints start to dominate conversations, they can overshadow any positive or uplifting moments. The problem is not recognizing hardships, it's making them the centerpiece of every interaction. From a social perspective, constant negativity has a powerful effect on relationships. People naturally gravitate toward those who uplift them, make them feel good, or bring positivity into their lives. When someone frequently complains, friends and family might initially listen out of concern or empathy, but over time, they may start avoiding interaction to protect their own mood and mental well-being. No one enjoys leaving a conversation feeling more drained than when they entered it. Psychologically, focusing on negative aspects of life reinforces a mental pattern. The brain starts to scan for problems automatically, ignoring neutral or positive experiences. This negativity bias can be self-perpetuating. More complaining leads to more focus on flaws, which leads to even more complaining. Over months or years, it can become a defining part of someone's personality, even if they were once cheerful and optimistic. Breaking this cycle requires conscious effort. One helpful step is practicing gratitude, not in a forced or unrealistic way, but by deliberately noticing small good things in daily life. A sunny morning, a friendly smile from a neighbor, a favorite meal, or a pleasant memory. Writing down a few of these each day can retrain the mind to balance negativity with appreciation. Another strategy is to limit venting time. If a frustration is valid, express it briefly, then shift the conversation to a more constructive or neutral topic. This keeps discussions from spiraling into complaint-heavy exchanges. It's also valuable to engage in activities that create positive emotions. Hobbies, light exercise, social visits, or volunteering. These experiences provide fresh material for conversation that's uplifting rather than draining. In the end, aging doesn't have to mean becoming cynical or bitter. By becoming aware of excessive negativity and making small shifts in focus, older individuals can maintain warmth, charm, and strong social bonds, ensuring that people feel drawn to their company rather than avoiding it. As people age, their values, morals, and viewpoints are often shaped by decades of personal experiences, cultural influences, and social norms from their formative years. These beliefs can be a source of strength, offering stability and wisdom. However, when someone clings too rigidly to outdated ideas, refusing to adapt or even consider new perspectives, it can create friction with friends, family, and the broader community. This stubbornness is rarely born out of malice. For many older individuals, the world they grew up in feels like the right or proper way to live, and sudden societal shifts can be unsettling. Rapid changes in technology, language, fashion, politics, or cultural norms may seem unnecessary, confusing, or even threatening. Holding on to what's familiar feels safer and more comfortable than navigating the uncertainty of modern trends and ideas. The trouble begins when these beliefs are treated as absolute truths, with no room for discussion or evolution. A senior might dismiss younger generations' viewpoints as foolish or misguided, refuse to acknowledge new scientific findings, or insist that things were better in my day without considering the benefits of progress. This rigidity can make others, especially younger family members, feel unheard, disrespected, or undervalued. Socially, sticking stubbornly to outdated beliefs can lead to isolation. People may avoid conversations to prevent arguments, or they might stop inviting the person to gatherings where differing opinions are likely to arise. Over time, this unwillingness to bend or listen can erode trust and closeness in relationships, leaving the older person feeling misunderstood or left out, even though they may not realize their own role in the disconnect. It's worth noting that not all old-fashioned beliefs are harmful. Many carry timeless wisdom and moral clarity. The issue isn't having principles, it's refusing to engage with the possibility that the world has evolved and that different perspectives might hold value. 2. Adapting doesn't mean abandoning core values or blindly accepting every new idea. Instead, it involves openness without immediate judgment, asking questions to understand rather than to argue, and recognizing that growth can happen at any age. This flexibility not only preserves relationships but also keeps the mind active and resilient. Practical ways to soften rigid thinking include engaging with diverse sources of information, spending time with people from different age groups, and participating in activities that challenge assumptions. Even small steps, like trying a new type of food, attending a modern art exhibit, or learning about a new technology can help build comfort with change. Ultimately, the most respected elders are often those who balance the wisdom of their life experience with a willingness to listen, learn, and adapt. By holding on to the values that matter while letting go of unnecessary rigidity, older individuals can maintain relevance, deepen connections, and inspire those around them not by clinging to the past, but by gracefully blending it with the present. One of the most subtle yet damaging social habits that can develop with age is the tendency to interrupt or stop truly listening when others speak. While it's not exclusive to older individuals, it can become more noticeable as people grow older, partly because they've lived long enough to feel confident in their opinions, stories, and experiences. Over time, this confidence, though valuable, can unintentionally turn into a habit of talking over others or tuning them out. In many cases, interrupting doesn't come from disrespect, but from eagerness to share. Seniors often have a wealth of knowledge and life lessons, and when a topic reminds them of a personal experience, the urge to jump in can be irresistible. Sometimes, they fear they'll forget the thought if they don't say it immediately. At other times, they believe they already know where the conversation is going and feel compelled to offer guidance or correction. However, frequent interruptions can make others feel undervalued and unheard. For younger generations, in particular, it may come across as dismissive, as though their ideas, opinions, or feelings aren't important enough to be fully expressed. This can lead to frustration, reluctance to engage in conversation, and eventually, a gradual distancing in the relationship. Not listening is a related problem. Even if an older person isn't verbally interrupting, they might mentally check out of the conversation, distracted by their own thoughts or waiting for their turn to speak. This lack of active listening can be sensed immediately. People can tell when someone is simply waiting to talk, rather than genuinely absorbing what they're saying. The consequences of these habits are subtle but cumulative. Over time, friends and family may shorten their interactions, avoid sharing personal stories, or stop seeking advice. This can unintentionally contribute to feelings of loneliness for the older person, ironically, the exact opposite of what they likely want. The good news is that active listening is a skill that can be practiced and improved at any age. It begins with patience, allowing others to finish their thoughts fully before responding, maintaining eye contact, nodding, and offering verbal acknowledgments. "I see," "tough," "interesting" can signal genuine attention. Asking follow-up questions rather than jumping into your own story shows that you value their perspective. Another helpful approach is embracing pauses in conversation. Silence doesn't always need to be filled immediately. By waiting a few seconds after someone finishes speaking, you not only avoid interrupting but also give space for deeper or more thoughtful dialogue. It's important to remember that conversation is a two-way exchange, not a lecture. The most rewarding interactions happen when both people feel heard and respected. Older individuals who master the art of listening often find that their relationships grow stronger and more fulfilling, because others feel safe opening up to them. By resisting the urge to dominate conversations and focusing on truly hearing what others have to say, seniors can maintain warmth, trust, and mutual respect, ensuring that their presence is always welcomed rather than avoided. As people age, maintaining personal hygiene and grooming can sometimes become more challenging. Physical limitations, health conditions, and reduced energy levels can make daily routines like showering, shaving, brushing hair, or putting on clean clothes feel exhausting. While under